Well, we didn't get any previews at Adepticon, but we did have a nice Heresy Thursday today, revealing some more Mechanicum Knights. And that's something that I think I discussed in the last video that I did covering the previous Heresy Thursday, just suggesting that GW is going to be using the conversion from resin to plastic of the Mechanicum Knight range just to cover and fill out the Mechanicum release schedule until we get a new force released for Legions Imperialis. Just because there's not much left for them to release for the Mechanicum in general. Maybe stuff that we just haven't seen yet, but I think with the battle group boxes and the releases that they've already sent out, there's just not much left for them to do. So I think by converting all of these Mechanicum Knights from resin to plastic, we're going to be we're going to be in good shape. I think it's a great move, and as we'll see in this article, I think they have the Knights have lost nothing in the conversion from resin to plastic. And in fact, based on the pictures that I'm seeing here, I think these models are better than the resin versions, which is great. I mean, if you look at them in this photo here, they look very dynamic. They're very detailed. They seem to have good poses. And that's something we don't always get to say about models that have been converted from resin to plastic. So I think GW has done a great job here. I think a lot of times the plastic version loses detail. The pose is not as dynamic and effective and evocative. But here, I think they've knocked it out of the park. It's obviously well painted, as we are wont to expect from Games Workshop. The team, I think, did a great job. I think this is House Malanax. And so, anyway, um, let's look at what these do on the table. The Knight Atropos is very quick. It moves 9 inches, has a 3-up save, and 3 wounds, which, of course, I think we're all a little disappointed that the Knights are so fragile. I think another wound or a better save would help them, but we're going to have to work with what we have for now. The 2 weapons that these have are the Graviton Singularity Cannon and the Atropos Lascutter. The Singularity Cannon, I think, is what you're taking these for. It has a 16-inch range, 2 dice, hits on 3s with AP -3, but it also has Armor Bane and Collapsing Singularity, which is going to help it take down those big titans that this is intended to hunt. The Lascutter is also a great weapon. It is pretty short range at 6 inches, but it hits on a 2, has AP -4, engine killer, rend, and wrecker. So it's going to be able to tear through heavy vehicles, buildings, and I mean just about anything that you're going to send at it. It has some interesting special rules. It has Furious Charge, so you might want to get this guy in close combat. Ion Shields 3+, which I think is the only Knight which has an Ion Shield equal to its armor save, which I mean is good. I think honestly it should probably be that way across the board. Ion Shields in general are a pretty disappointing special rule, so I think that should be adjusted, if nothing else, to help Knights give them a bit more staying power on the table. It also has the macro extinction protocols, which are going to just help you hit those big targets that you're looking at. Like it says here in the article, it gives them rerolls when fighting super heavies, knights, and titans. And we got a nice glamour shot here, House of Vironi, I believe. I love this style that I guess Forge World originated, where it's the models with sort of this photoshopped real world combat scene. I think it looks great. They did a good job here. And then next we have the Acastus Knight Asterius, and this has the twin conversion beam cannons. Now, I know not from experience, because I am maybe ashamed to say that I've never played Adeptus Titanicus, but I understand from what I have heard that these models were sort of a feels bad unit in that particular game just because they were so powerful. I don't know if that's going to be the case here for Legions Imperialis. They do move pretty slowly, only 6 inches. They do have a 2-up save, which will help them survive a bit better. Only 3 wounds, though. And their calf of +7 might make them vulnerable to some close assault. The main weapon here is, of course, the conversion beam cannon. I'm not going to talk about the ancillary weapons. We'll do that when we go through a more detailed video in our How to Use series. But the conversion beam cannon seems like an effective and dangerous weapon, but not something that's going to be too overpowered. It just seems more or less like a worse version of the smaller conversion beam cannon that the Warhound gets. I think it's called the Dissolutor. It fires 2 dice at its maximum range bracket of 18 to 35 inches, hits on 3s with an AP -4. And it also has the Demolisher trait, so you're going to be able to knock down buildings with this from far off. The medium range bracket fires only a single die, AP drops down to -3, and then at the low range bracket of 6 inches, fires 1 die, hits on 4s with AP of -2. So you're going to want to keep this guy in the back, which is no surprise with its low calf and slow speed. Just put it in a proper place where it can dominate the field, and I think it's going to do good work. I would say the main thing, though, is just the low rate of fire is probably going to mean that if your opponent is not taking a lot of heavy vehicles or knights or titans, you may not get the most out of this weapon, out of this knight. Now, it does have some secondaries, which may give it a bit more utility on the battlefield. I think these guys have the Volkite Culverin, which will give it some anti-infantry, and then it also has some kind of mortar battery or defense missiles on the back there. So that's going to give you another weapon that you'll be able to make use of. Maybe it's the Helios defense missiles. But yeah, I think this is going to be a good addition to your army, as long as you understand that it comes with the same restrictions that most knights do. It has the Blessed Autosimulacra rule, which is going to help it stay in the fight maybe a little bit longer. I think because it only has 3 wounds, and these guys are going to be such a fire magnet for your opponent, that you may not get too much mileage out of the Autosimulacra rule, but it might give you an extra wound and just give them a little bit more staying power on the table. They also have Ion Shields 4+, which, as we talked about before, is kind of disappointing given that they have an armor save of 2-up, which is just... so the 4-up Ion Shield is just probably not going to do anything for you, which is disappointing because these guys need really everything that they can be given in order to give them some extra staying power on the table. So that about wraps it up, guys. 2 new models for us from Games Workshop today that I certainly wasn't expecting, but I think good additions to the range. I think the more we get away from resins, probably better, just to increase the number of models we can get for a lower price, which is always a concern with GW. But I'm excited to get these on the table. I think they're great figures. They look great. And I think they're going to be effective with the usual caveat when we're talking about knights. So make sure you guys like and subscribe, and let me know your own thoughts about these models and how they've performed on the table for you, or how you think they will perform in the future. And I'll see you in the next video.